Alright, so, nice job, Nick. It's about to take a little while. So, what we are doing today is we are looking at congruent figures, which we've actually done before. But we're going to keep working with it. So, two figures are congruent if and only if there is a sequence of one or more rigid motions that maps one figure onto the other. Or, in other words, can you translate, rotate, or reflect the first shape to get to the second shape? And remember, rigid motion means it's the same shape, but in a different spot. So, I'm out. I got far from print. So, I'm going to look down here at this triangle.
Here.
I got a thin, I need to grade with.
Oh wait, I could be a children.
Why are you doing it?
Okay, so we're going to look down here at triangle A. And I want to see, how can I make triangle A go from here to A prime down there? And I need to figure out what steps I can take to go from this one to this one. Now, one way you could do it is if you were to trace that triangle A, and if you were to cut it out, you can kind of move it around like I'm doing. So if you can visualize this, great. If you can't visualize this, trace triangle A and cut it out, which hopefully you already did because I told you to do that before. So I want to know how to go from A to A prime. So there's actually a lot of different ways you can do it. You just have to figure out a method that works. So I'm going to translate to start with. So I'm going to translate. Oh no, I don't want everything. I don't want
What's up, man? What's up,
I only want the one. There we go. Put that back where it was before.
Do you remember where it was?
That's back where it came from. So help me.
I thought it was over one. You sound just like my grandma.
Over a little bit.
That's good. Alright, so I'm going to start here. And I'm going to translate it. And I'm going to go one right, and then 1, 2 down. And after I've done this, I can just flip it right on this line, right?
No.
And if I were to flip it on that line, let's see if I can remember which fashion it is. No.
Can't you do it? You can't only do it from the original position though?
What do you mean?
Can you only like translate and like rotate, reflect off of the first image? Or can you do it off of the second?
Oh, can you go from A prime to go backwards?
Yeah.
No, start at A and then go to A prime. So if you did it the other way, it would work. You just have to write it in opposite order. All right. So I translated it, and then I am going to flip it real quick over x-axis here. Whoops, and then a bump. So I translate it to about right here, and then if I flip it, I've gone from A to A prime. So this entire lesson is about figuring out how to go from the first one to the second one. So I did two things. I translated over 1 and down 2, and when I did that, it brought my triangle right here. And from there, I reflected it over this line right here, and after I reflected it, I ended up with my new shape. So, to answer these, what I need to do is I need to list the steps I did in order, and you could have done these in different order if you wanted to. So the first thing I did was I translated, since I went right 1, I translated it 1, then I went down 2. So I had to translate 1, -2. That was my translation. And that brought me to this brown shape right here. And from there, I reflected it over this line. So my reflect is a capital R. And I'm going to reflect it over the line. Because this is left and right, is it x equals or y equals?
Why?
Y equals. Remember, left and right is a y equals. So I translated it over the line, y equals -1, because that's when y is -1. And from there, I got to my second shape, my A prime shape. And this right here is my answer. This is the series of steps that I did. First I translated, then I reflected. You could do this a bunch of different ways. For example, you could reflect it first, and you would get to here where I have the screen shape, and then you could just translate it, and you could still get here. You could have like reflected it over the x-axis and then translate it. There's a bunch of ways you can do these. So just because you don't get the same answer as somebody else doesn't mean you're wrong. It just means what you did was different. Ryan, turn it off. So we're just going to practice doing this. And this lesson is kind of, it's hard for me to really give you step by step because there's so many different ways you could do it. So you either have to visualize or cut out a shape to go from one to the other. So we're going to go from triangle WET to triangle JQV, and we need to write our series of steps. So give me a second. This was, I forgot to change this from last year. Alright. So I'm gonna, nope, not gonna do that. I'm gonna get my triangle here. And I'm gonna put it over here. So the way I'm doing it is like if I trace this triangle and then cut it out. Which you can do, or if you can just visualize it, great. Turn that down a little. Thanks. Alright, so I need to figure out how to go from my blue triangle here to this black one. And they sometimes they're the same, sometimes they're not. I am going to...
rotate it and then translate.
You could rotate and then translate, but personally when I do these, I don't really think well in rotations. I think much better with reflecting. So I am going to translate it over 1, 2, and then down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And after I do that, I can reflect it over this line right here. And when I reflect it, I'm going to end up on my original shape. Remember, reflect is like a flip. So what I like to do is I like to move the shape to, so like a corner matches up, and then I like to reflect it. That's just how my brain works. If you don't like doing that, you don't have to. There's a bunch of different ways you can do this. So don't just follow my way because that's how I do it. So first thing I did was I translated. And I translated it 1, 2 right. So translate 2, and then I went down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So translate 2, negative 5. And from there, I reflected it, so capital R for reflect, over the line. Because it's up and down, it's going to be x equals, and it's x is 1. And that's it. Translated it over x equals 1. So we're just going to practice this a little bit more.
Okay. Do you have an eraser for the top?
You do? Well, not for the top. But
Oh,
that's all I got. So we're going to practice this a little bit more. And I'm going to have you guys, I'm going to let you work with either your partner or somebody sitting by you, or we could do groups of, actually we could do groups of 3. And Tyler. Actually, you're doing a group, Tyler. So, Trista, Nick, and Lark, I'll have you guys work together. Ryan, Joseph, and Kwana, I'll have you guys work together. Tyler, maybe I'll have you join this group over here. And so, on this, you're going to go from one shape to the other. So, as a group, you're going to figure out how to go from PQ to HG, how to go from DEF to LMN, and how to go from ABCJ to WXYZ. So, work with your group and figure out how to go from one to the other. So, you can have each member do a single shape. You can work on each shape together. It's up to you guys. I'm going to have you work as a group. So, let's get in your groups and figure out how you want to do it. Help each other out.
Oh, we also do it, somebody else do one?
I don't know. Talk to your group.
I forgot.
You got a question, Joseph?
Can you reflect twice? Will you have to reflect twice sometimes?
You could. Yep. That's a good point. So you could reflect twice. You could have like 4 different steps. I don't know. There's a bunch of ways you can do it. Some ways are easier than others, but...
Okay, Goki, can I pull this off?
you should probably
What?
put that in a
Can I pull
crowd.
the look off?
What?
No, look. Can I
You
pull
need a
it off?
bandana.
I just need them a bandana, yeah.
Look close.
Oh.
Alright, get with your groups, help each other out. And then make sure you get every answer copied down for your notes here. So don't just do the one that you picked, or if you're working together, don't just write down one.
Don't you just trace
After
it,
you're
just
done.
trace it once?
Gotta talk with your group though.
For the first one?
So figure out how you're gonna do it in your group. If you're each gonna do
You
one,
get 2 and
if
then
you're gonna help each other out,
Yeah.
figure it out.
Okay.
What are they doing
Hey,
there?
Greg, I'm helping out.
Oh, it's just trying to like connect.
He's doing his house.
Oh, damn.
You have to read that one. And Kiana and Chloe, you're doing
know.
You're on their own.
I just said whatever,
What?
it's okay.
I said you do.
Like for Q to go to G, all I did was go over 2, then down 9 to make it connect.
What's up at homies? What's up at Humberg?
Hey Tyler.
What's up at essays? Teacher told me to hand in this if it ain't no snitch. Actually, no, I'm not gonna pull this off. I feel like I'm gonna get shot. This thing ain't come out.
What, pull that off? Oh, you just button up one? I just noticed that.
I just didn't answer. Don't know if I'm
You won't get shot just doing that.
Michelle's.
Around here.
No, you won't. Everyone's too scared to do it. Yeah.
Just scared to do it.
The only time they could actually, the only time they would not be scared of shoot someone is when they were on drugs, but that's different.
That's what I did.
So it goes down to.
So on the finger.
Well, I should just go with.
Down by
Wait,
one. So reflect it over that.
I'll go D.
Can you work now?
Oh, D, yeah.
I reflected it twice.
Reflected it twice?
Yeah, which one is it? I reflected it across the x-axis and I reflected it across the y-axis.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Then you rotate, you like.
No, I didn't reflect that.
Really? Just reflecting, and that's it?
So
Alright.
you just gotta capital R, the less than,
This one is just
x-axis.
Don't crumple it up, make it
And then
nice.
I wrote it again.
What time goes for? Are you done with all 3 shapes?
Yeah.
And -2, right? Yeah, there's already
You can say go to.
that one, yeah. Sure.
Can I just say how it is?
You could. Alright, somebody have a question?
Yes. I'm thinking I'm going special.
You said it.
Yeah, let's go.
Alright.
This one?
Yeah.
So, isn't that five?
Yeah, it's an X.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah.
So it goes to this one.
How do you finish
Then it
two?
goes over
You didn't even do a help check.
one, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's it?
But if you didn't reflect though, wouldn't it be
Here,
like,
right?
nah,
No,
no.
he said there's multiple ways to do it.
Well,
Yeah, I
that's the
know.
translation.
Oh, yeah, that's
But if you're not gonna
And
choose
then,
to reflect twice, I
I
think
think we'll
what I do is
Reflect
go
it.
over and
Yeah.
check it.
cool.
Or, yeah, reflect it. Over the y.
Okay. After you're done.
And then it's equal.
Well, actually, we have a lot of homework.
I'm
on
like,
how
so
easy
what?
it is.
Oh, he's stupid.
We're gonna have like 20
Look at that. I don't want to home.
Alright, doing pretty
I
good?
was doing it
Pretty
right.
good? And remember, help it write all
Okay.
the
Okay.
other things down, so you have them all on there.
Okay.
Yeah, you can fucking lie.
No, that wouldn't work.
Stop.
No.
Would this work?
Rotating homework.
Wouldn't like this work, right? Because it goes to and you're rotating it once.
DF to. So you have to do that 1, 2, you get 2. And then you flip the oil line, x equals 1.
Alright, you know what?
So when you do that, it works like this, right?
Oh, so like,
So you have to
So
reflect
play
it.
the music.
But you're gonna have to do it another time. You have to reflect it.
I heard you were a
oh,
wild
then
one.
y equals y equals
Is that
negative
1 correct? So that's a 3-step
God, there's like so
reflection.
many songs going around right now.
Mm-hmm.
Was a wild
Yeah.
one. Wild one.
I have a question.
What is the y-axis?
Is that -1 or
He just said
So that means every
right.
time we're
on the
gonna do
video?
What?
You say that you
when we
used
got
to
older, we got in
violate
a machine that like, rocks.
Oh
and stuff.
yeah, yeah.
You think it'd be like better if we put it on something and it actually like spins all the way around where you go upside down?
Yes.
Or no?
Actually,
I wanna go
Because look
see,
at you're upwards no matter what, huh?
Yeah, so
Truth or
no,
Dare
no.
That is the
It's
thing
coming
about
out
it.
on Friday. Take pictures of me.
Just leave it like sitting down or something.
Yeah, please.
Oh, but there's like back and forth motion though. Huh?
Yeah, it is back and
Maybe I'm
forth.
So, you know.
intellectually got it.
Same. But I
That's
just
also-
have a
But
lot
we
of
had to
those
find a way to
free
make it
passes
smooth though,
that
cause like when you go down.
I just have those
Yeah.
free
Oh,
movie
you,
passes.
it kind of looks like it's going down, huh?
Kind of, not fully.
About a
But
little bit
a
there.
little, yeah. Shouldn't have done that. You should kept going forward. You could have made it.
This for two?
It's a matter of like
Six years
a
old.
little bit.
No, plus for two, then that's-
Oh yeah, when you do that, like we can make like keep
Yeah.
forward and backward and actually,
Yeah.
like up and down.
We should finish.
Cause yeah, I don't know if you noticed some parts you go like, kind of like you go a little hill.
Yeah.
So it's actually.
So it should actually be just two.
And maybe like it kind of goes to the side a little bit though. Cause at first like it looks tricky, you're upside down, but then it comes back down. It comes back to the point where you're
Pass for
upwards
two.
again.
Yeah.
Like when you go sideways, you
Combo.
kind of like, you know.
and
All
then
right.
movie pass.
Joseph, you got them all down?
Yeah.
What?
Ryan, you got them all down?
No.
I'll get back to Joseph.
Yeah, Joseph, I called
How about your group?
I just forget that I have one.
I did not understand.
You okay back there, Tyler?
Coach is gonna be like, hey,
All right. Well, let's go over these. So, Trista,
What?
how do you go from PQ to HD?
What?
How do you go from PQ to HD?
By doing stuff.
That's true. Specifically,
Translate it.
how?
Translate. It's 2, -9.
Let's just double check, make sure you count right. 1, 2, 1,
Oh, you
2,
shoot.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
wait, what?
10.
You
Negative
sure it's
10.
not negative 10? 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh no, I just counted wrong. Yep. Alright, translate to -9, and then you're there. Alright, not bad. Ryan, how do you go from DEF to LMN?
No, P.
Let me type this. Don't you go like what? T go right to
Uh-huh.
and go down to?
Yep, so you're going to translate it to
Yeah,
-2, which is going to put you about right here.
Yeah, right there.
Yep, and then what do you do?
Now you rotate x equals 1.
Reflect.
Reflect x equals 1.
So reflect it over x equals 1,
Then
which, okay, go ahead.
then
Actually, wait,
which makes it flip split card sort of.
wait, no, I wrote it wrong.
Really?
Actually, hang on. Okay, what's your last step?
Reflect y equals -2.
Oh, I drew it wrong. That's why. Oops.
Okay.
I'm so bad. So it's gonna look more like 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. There you go. So it's gonna look like that, and then reflect over x equals 1, which puts it like this, more or less,
Yeah.
and then you reflect it over
Y equals -2.
y equals -1.
-1, yeah.
Okay, so that one was 3 steps. So Mick, do you do something different?
I kind of guessed, I just assumed so. Could you just rotate 180?
I believe so, actually. Yep. So, I don't really think in very well with rotations. So, I actually would have done it just like Ryan did and did a reflect and then a reflect, which is the same thing as rotating. If you did just the rotation, you're not wrong. You just did it differently, which is fine. So, if you just did a 180 rotation, that's it. You don't have to do anything else.
Cool.
Are you tired today?
I am. All right, Lark. What's the last one?
Oh, I'm done.
Translate 1/5. Rotate y over or y equals or.
Oh my gosh, I did that backwards.
Reflect. Capital R is
Did I
reflect.
say rotate again?
So reflect over
I'll make that.
y equals 0 or the y-axis. You did the same thing. Yeah. So good.
Cool.
Because that would have put this shape. That would have put this shape like right here. Yeah, more or less. And then you reflect it over the top. Good.
More light.
This lesson is actually one of my least favorites because I can't really teach you how to go from one to the other. I can teach you the things you can do, but I can't really teach you how to go from one shape to the other. So I don't really like doing this because I can't instruct very well. But you guys are all doing really good, which is nice. I appreciate that.
Thanks, Loki.
Alright, that's it. If you haven't yet, do your exit ticket. I will turn on Socrative. And I will get you all print out your homework because it's the weird
Can we all
CC
have
stuff.
only stars too?
I don't have any. I'm sorry, Tyler.